Hi, Sudis. How are you doing? Welcome to Seminaria. Thank you so much for the support. Hope you all are doing great. This video is in kind of, it might crack you up a little bit, but it's in kind of funny, because at this point, white people are trying to detach themselves from whiteness. And how is that even possible? Some people will tell you that I am white, but I am non-practicing white. And I am like, which one is practicing white and non-practicing white? Or are you trying to detach yourself from the political party and all that? You can say you are white, but not MAGA, understandable. But coming around to tell us that you are white, but you are not practicing white. Yeah, I don't understand it, but white people are also asking if they can use that phrase. Of course, you know that it's kind of not okay to use, because if you are not white, so what are you? Or if you are white and you are not practicing, what are you practicing? Black or green or blue? So all these videos, it's a lot of things ended up coming, from the conversation and non-practicing white racism and all that racism that comes from white people to people that look like me. And also there are sometimes you hear them ask questions like, say things like reverse racism, or that black people are racist towards them. And then you ask them, a black person can actually be racist towards you. You might be prejudiced and all that, but we do not have that power to be towards you. You know what? Let's get into this video.
Can't. I don't know why this is tickling me so fucking much, but it is. I've never heard that before. Oh my gosh, she said, I'm white, but I'm not white practicing. This was the best. Thank you for making me laugh. I really needed a good laugh today. And then the comments underneath it. Y'all are hilarious. I love my followers. You guys are great.
I just want to know if it's okay if we start using that phrase. I saw over on Threads, someone else commented and said that some of us are recovering. But yeah, because while I'm white, I'm sick of white people's shit. So I just want to know if it's okay if we start using this phrase, I'm white, but not white practicing.
I too would like to know what this phenomenon is about white women who are saying they aren't practicing white people. I have my own thoughts right now, but I don't think it's fair to communicate them without having heard somebody out. I did have a short conversation in my inbox with somebody, but they ended up just backing down. And so I didn't really ever get an explanation about what white people mean when they say I'm non-practicing white. So anybody who says that, you're welcome to stitch this or put a comment in the video so that I can understand what that means. But y'all can tell me what you think. So you're a non-practicing white. Okay, let's talk about it. On this post, I asked, what do white people mean when they say, I'm a non-practicing white? And I read through all 334 comments. Before we start, here's my definition of racism. Conscious and unconscious prejudice plus power. I will not be taking notes. Let's get to these comments. The most popular comment was something about how this term started with the idea of being a non-practicing Catholic. And while I get that's where it came from, it never really had a leg to stand on. Because a belief system is just that, a belief system. You have to self-identify. You have to tell people what you believe in. That's not how race works. So the two are not really comparable. Another very popular comment that I got is, well, we use that term to say we're white, but we're not Karens. We're white, but we're not white supremacists. We're white, but we're not MAGA. And to that I say, why not just say that? I'm going somewhere. Because you see, in the phrase is this assumption of two things. It acknowledges that for the rest of the world, white people show up as harm. That's the first thing. And second, that everybody is aware that white people show up as harm, inclusive of you and me, to the extent that you would need to differentiate yourself from the rest of white people and how they show up. You following me? So my question would be, why don't you change how the rest of the world sees white people? And before you tell me, well, that's what we're doing, it's not. Because the phrase tells on itself. The phrase says, I'm a non-practicing white. So the assumption is built into the phrase that white people show up as harm, but you don't practice your own culture. I'm asking why you don't change the culture of the group you're a part of instead of distancing yourself from the group. Verbally, anyway. Serious question. Another really popular comment I got was, that's some bullshit. Here go white people again, blue braceleting something else. Quite a few white people in the comments acknowledge that it is not possible to separate yourself from the privileges that you receive as a white person simply by willing it so. And to that I say, you're absolutely correct. I want to reiterate some things that I've said in multiple different videos. Racism exists on a spectrum. On one side, you have white hoods and the N-word. And on the other side, you have microaggressions. But it exists all the way in between. On a heightened scale, on a lower scale, all of that is racism. Also, let's go back to the beginning. You do not have to have intent or be conscious of your prejudice. Well, what does that look like, Brandy? You may be an amazing white person. You have a diverse group of friends. Your kids have diverse groups of friends. You listen to Black creators and read Black authors. You correct the white people around you who use slurs. Also, you've probably never been followed in a store for the color of your skin. Out of the 10 times you've been pulled over in your life by a police officer, it's never escalated past a ticket. Actually, you made it home every single time. Last summer, when your son Billy got in trouble for smoking in the park, the cops let him go with a warning. He didn't end up in juvie. When you decided to sell your house, you got a fair market evaluation. Why is all of that important? Because it creates a false sense of reality for you that does not compare to the lived experience of Black people. And unconsciously, you make your life decisions based on that reality. So the next time you get pulled over by the police, maybe you mouth off, I can't do that. When you suggest to your Black neighbor that he should sell because you are too, you don't realize that he can't afford that because he's not going to get what you got. We do not live in the same world. This is not a point of argument. It's the truth. So unconsciously, you will continue to make choices based on your lived reality that does not compare to ours. This is your white privilege that you cannot separate yourself from just because you aren't MAGA, just because you aren't a Karen. You need to actively create a world where MAGA doesn't exist, where Karens don't exist. And I have a hard time believing that you're actually doing that work when you're too busy telling me you're non-practicing. I'm probably going to do a part 2, but y'all tell me what you think. I really appreciate this question. I can't answer how you are racist because I don't know you personally. So I don't know what behaviors you exhibit. But what I am sure of is that all white people are racist. Now, the reason I hesitated in answering the first question for you is because I think we both have to agree on what the term racism means. And I would venture to guess we don't agree on the term. Most white people, when I have conversation with them, describe racism as prejudice. And see how those two words aren't the same? They don't have the same meaning. Sure, anybody can be prejudiced. I can be prejudiced. I'm sure I have prejudices. But racism is specific and it involves power. It involves the ability to change the course or trajectory of someone else's life. That's something prejudice simply can't do on its own. If I call you a racial slur or I'm mean to you about your race, that's literally all you experience, is maybe some hurt feelings, prejudice. Racism is systematic. It exists in institutions. It's not about my feelings. Actually, on a list of things that racism impacts, my feelings is the last on the list. Racism has determined generational wealth or lack thereof. Racism has the mortality rate for Black women giving birth higher than any other demographic. Racism prevents Black people from getting the right amount of pain medication because the assumption is we have a higher threshold for pain. Racism makes the appraisal of Black people's homes far less just because it can. It's systematic and institutional. And I also think it's really important to remember that you cannot separate the act of racism and the benefit from racism. They work together in tandem. And so just because you may not use the N-word or own a white hood, which I don't know, doesn't mean you don't navigate this world based on the lived experience you have benefiting from racism. Let me see if I can help. In her book, Why Are All the Black Kids Sitting Together in the Cafeteria? Dr. Tatum describes racism as a moving walkway in an airport. She explains that there are active racists and passive racists. Active racists walk in the same direction of the moving walkway. Passive racists stand still on an active walkway. The point being that the walkway is still moving. They're not actually doing anything against the racism. She states, but unless they are walking actively in the opposite direction at a speed faster than the conveyor belt, unless they are actively anti-racist, they will find themselves carried along with the others. So it's not good enough that you're on the conveyor belt. It's not even good enough that you stand still on the conveyor belt. It's not even good enough that you're moving in the other direction of the conveyor belt. You have to be moving faster than the conveyor belt to be considered anti-racist, which still is not being racist. I hope that helped. Y'all can tell me what you think though.
From this video, I just had to keep my cool this time around because I didn't want to. I am white, but not white practice. So what are you practicing? You are not black, you can't be practicing black. You are not Asian, you can't be practicing Asian. So you guys are now tired of yourself. This one really got me thinking, what am I supposed to talk on this particular one? But there is so much to take home from this particular video, you know. White people, the truth is that there is nothing like non-practicing white racism. If you are white, you are white, right? If you are white, we understand some people will say they might be white and they are not MAGA, right? So because at this point, you can't tell me that you are not white practicing white. There is nothing like non-practicing white. I want, I want white people to know that you are born in a system that is racist. And it is very, very, how do I say that? It's kind of, it takes someone that is only doing anti-racist work to say that he or she is not racist, because you are already born into the system. It is very hard to see a white person that is not racist, because it is inherent. I don't know if this is correct, inherently, like, you know, I don't know if it's something like you all inherited, you know, from your you know already, you know. And I have also been saying it. I decided to also type. I saw it too. You know, some white people saying that they are white, that but they are not practicing white, because at this point in time, I am confused. What is practicing white and what is not practicing white? And like she said, it's just like saying that you are a Catholic, but you are not. You are not practicing. You're a Catholic. You're a Catholic, whether you're practicing or not. I don't care. I don't even know what practicing is when you're a Catholic. You know. So this is it so far. Now, some people I think some people mix up racism and all with that. See, the truth is that as a black person, I cannot be racist to you, or yes, I do not hold that power. But if you say prejudice, I understand that I could be prejudiced, but I cannot be racist towards you or to you, right? That's why some people, instead of, when they feel like they are not getting, when they call you racist, that it is not getting to you. Maybe as a black person, as a person of color, right? The next thing you will hear is that this is reverse racism. There is nothing like reverse racism. It's something you and I should already, by now, I don't think we should be talking about anything that got to do with reverse racism, because it is not a thing. There is nothing like reverse racism. I am going to draw my card in here, but one thing I want you all to know is that there is nothing like non-practicing white. You can say you are not mega or anything, but telling me you are not practicing is like trying to tell me that you are detaching your whiteness from your whiteness. You are detaching your white from your whiteness. You are white forever. So if you are not practicing whiteness, what are you practicing? Green, blue, yellow. Bye for now.